The Christmas lights were still glowing when her hands began to shake, the pen slipping slightly between her fingers as tears fell onto the white divorce papers. Laughter echoed around the grand daytime Christmas party, glasses clinked, and cheerful music played, but in the middle of that warmth, Arzu Halim felt her life quietly breaking apart. No one noticed her trembling except the papers themselves, now stained with silent pain. In that moment, surrounded by smiling faces and bright decorations, she signed away her marriage, and with it, the only family she had ever tried to build. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet strength of people who endure pain with dignity, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. It was still daylight outside, sunlight filtering softly through tall glass windows, reflecting off gold ornaments and red ribbons. The party had been organized by her husband's family, a wealthy but cold household that valued appearances more than hearts. Arzu stood there in a simple pastel dress, elegant but modest, looking nothing like the dramatic women usually seen at such gatherings. To most people in the room, she was just the unlucky wife who had failed to meet expectations. They whispered that she was too quiet, too soft, too ordinary for a family like theirs. No one knew how heavy those whispers had been on her soul for years. Arzu had married Farzan Qureshi 3 years earlier, believing love could overcome class, ego, and cruelty. She came into the marriage without flaunting her background, choosing instead a life of simplicity and independence. She had never spoken about her father, never mentioned the vast empire behind her last name, never revealed the truth that she was the only daughter of Sarmad Halim, one of the world's most private billionaires. She wanted a life where she was loved for who she was, not what she owned. Unfortunately, silence had its own price. From the very beginning, Farzan's mother treated her like a burden. Every smile felt forced, every compliment backhanded. Arzu tried to win them over with kindness, patience, and hard work. She woke up early, managed the home gracefully, attended family events with dignity, and never once complained. But kindness often goes unnoticed in homes where pride rules. Slowly, Farzan himself began to change. He grew distant, colder, listening more to his family than to the woman who stood beside him every night. The final blow came wrapped in festive paper. On Christmas morning, instead of gifts or warmth, Arzu was handed divorce papers. Farzan's family claimed she had brought no value into the marriage, that she lacked ambition, status, and influence. They accused her of hiding her past, of being nothing special. Farzan stood silent, avoiding her eyes, choosing comfort over courage. The decision had already been made before the party began. As guests enjoyed cake and laughter under the bright winter sun, Arzu was led to a quiet corner and told to sign. She didn't scream, she didn't argue, she simply cried, the kind of crying that comes when hope has already died. With shaking hands, she signed her name, each letter feeling like a goodbye to the future she once dreamed of. When she handed the papers back, no one clapped, no one cared. The music continued, life moved on. She left the party alone, stepping into the sunlight outside, the noise fading behind her. Her phone buzzed repeatedly, but she didn't check it. She walked, letting the cool air dry her tears, reminding herself that pain, too, had an end. That night, she returned to her small apartment, packed her things quietly, and sat by the window as the city moved around her. For the first time in years, she felt both broken and free. What followed were days of silence and reflection. Arzu didn't run to her father immediately. She didn't seek revenge or sympathy. Instead, she took time to heal, to understand how she had lost herself while trying to please others. She remembered the lessons her father had taught her as a child, that true wealth was dignity, that power meant responsibility, and that silence was strongest when chosen, not forced. A week later, the world around Farzan began to shift. Business deals fell through unexpectedly. Investors withdrew. Partnerships collapsed without explanation. The Qureshi family was confused, panicked, and desperate. They had no idea that Sarmad Halim had finally learned what his daughter had endured. He hadn't interfered in her marriage out of respect for her independence, but now, he stepped in, not with anger, but with quiet consequence. He didn't destroy them, he simply stopped protecting them. Meanwhile, Arzu returned to her father's world, not as a sheltered daughter, but as a woman reborn. She took charge of charitable foundations, led education projects, and began working publicly for the first time. The media was stunned when she appeared at a global conference, introduced as the sole heir to the Halim Empire. Her calm confidence, her grace, and her story inspired millions. Headlines spoke of resilience, not revenge. Farzan saw her on the news one afternoon, standing in daylight, strong and radiant, speaking about second chances and self-worth. Regret hit him like a wave. He tried to reach out, to apologize, but Arzu didn't respond. Not out of bitterness, but because some chapters are meant to close quietly. She had forgiven him in her heart, but forgiveness did not mean return. Months later, on another bright morning, Arzu visited a small school funded by her foundation. Children laughed around her, their futures hopeful and unbroken. She smiled genuinely, feeling peace she had never known in her marriage. She realized that losing everything had actually given her everything: clarity, strength, and purpose. As the sun shone warmly overhead, Arzu understood that her tears at that Christmas party were not the end of her story. They were the beginning. She had signed divorce papers in pain, but she had also unknowingly signed a contract with herself, to never shrink again, to never beg for love, and to always honor her worth. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that pain can transform into power and that kindness does come back in unexpected ways, please like, comment, and share this video. Your engagement helps these stories reach souls who may need hope today. Before you go, comment one word that describes how this story made you feel. Because sometimes, the strongest people are the ones who cry quietly in the daylight, and rise without making a sound.